Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced these Porch Play Chats, and this is our third year. And so these Porch Play Chats are free to you, and you can listen to them on your commute. You can pull them up at a staff professional development session or staff meeting and watch one and then talk about it. But these are free to you, one of our ways that we promote play. So I hope you'll take advantage of them. You can find them on the IPA-USA website, and you click on the YouTube channel in the top right-hand corner or our Facebook page and friend us or subscribe to us, and you'll get notified every Monday when a new Porch Play Chat is posted. So my name is Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA-USA. With me on the porch is Lisa Murphy. Hello, Lisa. And joining us today.
My cushion.
Oh yeah, she's got her cushion, her little tushy. We want to make sure she's comfy. And joining us today is Mike Huber. Mike is a repeat Porch Play Chat person because every time we have him, there's like 7 other topics that we invite him back for because it's just an amazing, he's got so much knowledge. Mike is the co-host of the podcast, Teaching with the Body and Mind, and the author of the book, Embracing Rough and Tumble Play. And Mike has a new book coming out. Mike, what is it?
The book is called Inclusion Includes Us All, Building Bridges and Removing Barriers in Early Childhood Classrooms.
Perfect. So Mike today is going to talk to us about the difference between autonomy and independence when thinking about the adult's role in play. Oh, I can't wait, Mike. So let's go.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. And actually, this topic came up in a really brief conversation I had with you, Lisa, when you were talking about play workers who are like, what do we do with, I can't remember exactly the way it was worded, but, you know, play workers, I haven't done play work training, but are really trained to step back and let kids do things on their own. Mm-hmm. So the question comes up with some abilities, what does that mean? You know, for a child who is using a walker of some sort outdoors, they tend to work better in off-road situations, but still there might be muddy situations that the walker won't work in. What is the role of the adult? Mm. And I think it's helpful, and I learned this from some writing in the disability rights community about thinking about autonomy versus independence. Mm. And I think I equated the two for most of my early childhood career. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like if a child can't climb a tree, then they're not ready to climb the tree and all that, which is, I don't disagree with, but my thought is more nuanced now. Because autonomy is when the child has choices, or the person has choices of what to do, even if they need help with some of that, right? So a child might be autonomous with choosing what food to eat, but they might not be able to eat independently, or
okay
nice. So, that is nuanced and very nice. Yep.
So in terms of play, what does that mean? Because I could see, like, if it's a play area outdoors where there's one muddy spot and you can't get to the other place to play without getting through the mud, mm-hmm. and the child is insisting, I want to get over there, I can't do it, that, you know, there may be a role for the adult, right, to help them get there. I still think that if a child can't climb a tree, we don't just put them up in a tree, but we do want to ask, we want kids to have that experience of the risk of high heights, or whatever the way Sandseeder puts it, that kids need to be able to go up high. So what does that mean for someone who maybe won't be able to climb ever, right? Is there another way to do that? And I don't have an easy answer for these, but I think it troubles the waters a bit in ways I like. Mm-hmm. My fallback answer, because I learned most of this from the disability rights community, is to ask adults who are disabled in a similar way.
Yeah.
Right. Like Yeah, because a child might not be able to articulate it because they don't know the options, but an adult might be able to say, oh, you could just have some boards, some plywood around that. If there's those muddy spots and it's just a few feet of mud, but it totally prevents them from getting somewhere else. What if they had that? And then maybe they can ask other kids then to move the plywood over, or maybe depending on their type of disability, they can basically move it enough to themselves, whatever. But I don't know, that's my quick idea. I don't have specifics around it, but I'm just wondering if you have examples too where that this comes up, because for me, I do wonder. I was playing in the leaves with a kid who uses a walker, a toddler who uses a walker, and she can kind of scoot to it, but is that thing of getting from the walker to down on the ground to scoot, she's not able to do at this point in her, development. Granted, she's 20 months.
And nor would she be able to articulate that in language, right? And
Right.
so as a teacher, then you're like, okay, do I let her try to figure this out by herself, which would be the independence, right, approach, right?
Right.
Or do I ask if she wants to get down on the ground, and would she like me to help her?
Right.
And ask for permission to offer some assistance. But then the next step is how much assistance is needed without doing it all for her, right? And so there's lots of questioning in there, that it's not just you choose to say, okay, I'm going to give her support. Then you have to keep thinking, how much support does she need? Or how much.
And I'm going to add, you need to be aware of the tone in which you're asking some of these things, because children will hear an adult say something and be like, oh, she wants me to get down and play in the leaves, when really maybe the kid didn't want to get down in the leaves.
Right. So we have to be careful we don't assume, right?
Yep.
And we need to ask questions. And she could respond to us non-verbally. She probably has receptive language, right, at 20 months.
Yep, she has receptive. I didn't mention this, but she doesn't speak at all. So that's the other part of, I'm still learning her. I'm getting much better at it, but she's looking over there. She does want to go there. She's smiling. And that's what it was that time. That was one of the ones I learned. She's watching the other kids go in the leaves and smiling. Like, oh, do you want to go in there? And she keeps the smile. So that was my assumption. But you're right about that, Lisa, about being really careful of tone, because I find myself and others either try to help her so much that she loses the autonomy, and then other times, like backing up. I guess I'd rather back up first, and then see if I notice her getting frustrated, because that I can read on her.
Yeah.
And then help, because one time
it's getting nuanced. And we just had a Porch Play Chat with Wendy Ruiz from Agua Dulce, or from iLead. And one of the things she talked about is relationship based and really understanding that child, right? So you're really in tune with that nonverbal communication, which lots of children do, whether they have verbal language or not. Nonverbal seems to be first. That you're in tune with that, but then the first question may be, does she need support? What is she trying to tell me non-verbally, or what are her actions telling me? And then, okay, it looks like she would like to do that, so I'm going to ask, right? So there's all these steps that you really, really have to reflect, and then you have to decide how much is too much and how much is just enough. Whew,
that starts with the relationship. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And then there's a joke on my podcast that I don't go through an episode without using the word attunement at some point, but really being able to figure out what that child needs, how much support. This particular child, I remember the first time I really kind of let her go, she was trying to climb up a slide, just a toddler-sized slide. She did it for at least 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And never got to the top. And the only thing I realized I had to be close, because if she falls backwards,
Backward.
she doesn't have a way of catching herself.
Mhm.
But I only had to do that like once or twice.
Yeah.
Mostly she just kept doing it and kept doing it. And it was amazing. That was, for me, a big eye-opening moment of there's a lot of physical stuff she wants to do. And I have to figure out, like, the walker is kind of needed for some things. Because she can kind of scoot around, like, so in the hallway, she can stay with her class, kind of like, you know, or whatever, you know, like scooting takes a long time. She gets really tired if she had to do
I bet. Yeah.
really far distances. But then once you're like, she's in the proximity of where she's going to play, she can scoot around and choose what she wants. And but you know, it took the relationship first to really, oh, I can tell she's starting to get frustrated, or oh, she really wants, she's looking at it, she's smiling, and she's moving towards, you know, I mean, it's kind of universal symbols, but sometimes can be easy to miss. I think, especially because her eye contact, her eyes don't both track the same.
Mhm.
So sometimes what she's looking at, and until you get to know her, you know, you can misread what she's
Sure.
smiling at and things. So I love that relationship and attunement. I love how you just boiled it all down there, Deb.
Hey, this is day 3. We're on a roll right now.
We're on a roll. But I think the beauty of it is, can you think of another example with someone other than the 20-month-old that
Yeah.
where you really had to think through those steps between independence and autonomy? Can you think of, I know you have thousands of examples.
So there's this other child, 4-year-old-ish child. I don't know, I'm assuming he has a diagnosis, but not quite clear, but he doesn't have a lot of words, has a hard time. So he's at an age where the other kids are much more collaborative in play.
Mhm.
And for him, I could see him watching me and another child play, like we're at a table with some dolls, like feeding them, like putting gems in bowls and stuff. And I just saw him and I just started saying, oh, are you watching us feed the babies? We're pretending these gems are food. And then he came over and he's sort of like pointing at the dishes. I'm like, oh, did you want a dish for the food too, or whatever? But I kept giving words. But with him, again, it was not the first day I was with him, you know, that I figured this out. But just the eye contact, and then there's a look on his face, a curiosity look, and just naming it and asking him. And with him, he never nodded yes or no. He just did it, right? You know, so he walked. It's like, oh, do you need a doll too? Do you know where they are? And then he walks over and gets one. But he kind of like needed the verbal thing, because his choices were being made non-verbally. And I don't think he was able to process like things that took more than one step. Like with the doll, he's looking at, the two of us have dolls. And if I broke it down and said, do you remember where the dolls are? He walked over to them. But he didn't just go get a doll, you know? So I think that's another one where if I just looked at it as independence, which I would have done 10 years ago, I think.
Right.
Just thought he doesn't want to play, he's not interested. And the more I write this book, this current book, and read more from the, again, disability rights community and getting perspectives of adults who went through childhood, I realized connection and that bridge to other kids is the main thing that kids often get excluded. I may have brought this up at a earlier porch chat, but kids tend to get excluded when they're disabled.
Exactly.
It's not obvious how they're going to join the play. And that's where an adult can play that role of, oh, they want to do this too. And so the autonomy is having the child choose, and the other children, but your role is to help them understand each other. Where are they at? What, you know, this child, oh, he needs to know all the steps. I had a teacher, you'll have to get my book to read it because it's the end of the chapter, but I think it was so brilliant where 2 children wanting to play this game, and she's having the one kid explain the rules and then kept stopping him and say, when you say go to sleep, show me what that looks like. Because the other child was autistic and had no clue. When you say go to sleep, you're just pretending, you know?
Mhm.
So she kept stopping the child, slowing him down, having him show, oh, so you lie down and close your eyes. Okay. Did you see that? Let's lie down and close our eyes, and he's going to do the next thing. And just that breaking it down is the role for the teacher, because both kids were willing to play with each other, but they didn't know
quite how.
how, or they would have missed, just kind of, I don't know, I keep thinking of it this way,
Right.
missing each other.
Well, and I think the last time when we were talking, we talked about, classrooms where there are children that are in the classroom with disabilities.
Yep.
But not necessarily included.
Yeah.
In the activities or what's going on in the classroom. And I think sometimes teachers aren't sure how to do that. And they want them to be independent, even though the child might need to be scaffolded toward that independence, right?
Yep.
So they need those baby steps to help them get there. And so I think that's why this is so valuable. Is it independence that you're striving for, or do you want the child to participate?
Right.
And then once the child shows interest in participating, then you have to reflect in on what your steps are without being overbearing and saying, oh, look, here's your doll, here's your gems, here's your, and asking questions and being respectful, right? And listening or watching nonverbal communication. Oh, that's a
I would
huge.
imagine that swooping in and rescuing is probably something that happens a lot with people who aren't as experienced in working with this particular population.
Yep.
You're nodding vigorously.
Yeah, well, and I'd say even not necessarily new to it, but also just when you're first getting to know the child and you don't have the relationship, and the child is usually new in a new classroom, so they're probably going to cry easier, because they don't know you yet, and so you are kind of like swooping in. I mean, even me, where this is what I'm trying to do with kids, and yet, the first impulse is to swoop in for sure.
It is, right. And we talk about that because we want to help, but then we have to make the decision, is our help more hurtful than it is helpful?
Right. And often I think the emotional support, if I think of it as just naming the emotion, oh, are you a little worried or whatever? And so you don't have to like swoop in, but just kind of acknowledging the child's feelings that they're going through helps, because then the child can just jump in, or that's usually enough, and then they can figure it out themselves. And then if they really do need you, you'll find out. But I think, I guess if I slow myself down and don't swoop, but go closer, first the proximity, then a few words of encouragement, and then if I'm needed, I can I guess swoop in would be the word. I also want to make sure that we say this, even though it's somewhat obvious given the type of porch chat we're having, but that relationship is important, but also play. That if there's teachers who are trying to do very teacher-led, teacher-prescribed activities, they're going to have a harder time letting the child be autonomous, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I read like special ed books for early childhood, it's all about how to adapt these lesson plans to help kids. And it's a thing, or you could play.
Well, and I think the big, thank you.
Shut up.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think, again, teachers feel a responsibility to do what the IEP or IFSP says, right? They feel like they have to do that to help the child. When they could be doing that not through a teacher-directed activity, but through this playful experience.
Right. And I think any IEP should have at least one of the goals be a social thing, having the child not participate in a circle time or something, which is the one I usually see.
No,
like
right.
have them sit and listen, follow the teachers, but something about playing with peers, interacting with peers, whatever word you'd use. So So that's part of the problem, right? Is that often the disabled children are the ones that teachers feel like they have to do more teacher directed, teacher led things, when having play and then being attuned and thinking of it as autonomy, because you do have to have that part, depending on the child and things, of course. But then I think you'd have so much, one, the kids would be participating more, would be interacting more, would be included. You know, that's, we use the word inclusion, and we rarely, like you alluded to, we rarely mean included.
Right, exactly. That
wondering-
drives me, I think, the craziest.
I'm wondering, in your experience, have you ever actually seen like an individually like written down IEP goal that could not have been met in truly child-directed play?
Well, unfortunately, I have seen goals that were sit for 10 minutes for group time. I guess you could say that you could figure out a play way to do that, but sometimes the goal is written in a way that almost
So
takes
the
away.
goal, so maybe the goal is written in a way that doesn't, you don't maybe see that how it could be met through a true play experience. But if we got to what the heart of the goal was, my guess is it probably could.
Yes. If you were going to if it was written broader so that it was, can this child participate in a group activity? Yes, for sure. So your actual point, yes. The other thing that happens, especially with children with autism, is the IEP goals are sometimes written to have them not STEM, if you know the term, you know, where they kind of do repeated actions. Again, there's at least one person who I wish I had their name right in front of me, Emmy, I know is her first name, working on defining what does play look like for autistic children. Because if we include stimming as play, suddenly, you know, they do it all the time. We don't even have to write an IEP for that. They got it. But when the IEP goal is to prevent a child from doing those things, and so luckily where I work in locations that are sometimes referred to as regulation, regulation based, in the sense of a child regulated, learning how to regulate, not licensing or that type of.
Not licensing, right?
Versus compliance focused, which would be more about don't stim, whatever, you know. So so I think that type of IEP goal is written in places, you know. Luckily, any one that I've seen, that's how you asked it, play could always be the way you get to that.
So Mike, I think in the upcoming book, and we're going to close you out, though I don't want to because it's time for somebody else, but maybe you should say, instead of writing an IEP like this.
You mean like the old really good DAP book?
The old one, not the new one, people. Not the new one. And then, you know, consider this, right? Or in contrast. I don't even care if you use the same words, but you know, I think that
I do definitely mention it.
I think they need some examples though. Instead of don't do, you know, do this or prevent this, then think about this, and maybe play should be at the top. Mike, as always, every time we have a conversation with you, I have 25 more questions, but I'm going to close this out, but hang tight. So to learn more about Porch Play Chats, please go to IPA-USA.org, and you can click on advocacy and then Porch Play Chats, and you'll see the playlist for all 3 years. And each Porch Play Chat is released on Mondays on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. So friend us and be a subscriber. So until next time, keep on playing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.